like I'm sure you probably watched all the Jags games.
Yeah, for the
But
most
like
part.
Trevor Lawrence was making the throws. He
Yeah.
made the throws. He looked good. He looked
Yeah.
good every single throw. But our receiving core was led by Laquan Treadwell for 8 weeks. So
Yeah.
it was not the best.
Yeah. And not to mention
Yeah.
Urban was trying all sorts of goofy stuff with little gadget guys
Urban
like
was running the Ohio State.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tavon
what is Tavon
Austin
on a
and
roster right now?
Well, yeah, Tavon Austin being added, and like we have gadget players already. Like
Yeah.
LaVishka Shenault
Mhm.
could have
Yeah.
been
Yeah, exactly.
Jamal Agnew.
Jamal Agnew. Like Jamal Agnew had that like the touchdown against the Colts where Jamal Agnew
Mhm.
ran for like 80 yards. My best friend's a Colts fan, and I was like, go down the sideline, and he lost it. But other than that, where was Jamal Agnew?
And then you have a 1,000-yard rusher in James Robinson, yet you continuously pick Carlos Hyde.
Carlos Hyde, yes sir.
Oh my god.
Urban Meyer's project. And then he tried the whole Tim Tebow thing.
And like I was okay with drafting ETN. My brain was like, it's fine. That's fine. But when Carlos Hyde gets the majority of the touches, that's when I was like really concerned.
Yeah. Because you can have an offense where oh my god, I already forgot James Robinson, where James Robinson and ETN coexist. But then you throw Carlos Hyde into the mix.
Yeah, because it's like every offense that's had the two running back system has had that like power back, receiving back combo, and like that was what we had. James Robinson is a good receiver, but like he's a great running back, and then just throwing Carlos Hyde in there and being like, yeah, this guy who averages 2.4 yards per carry, that's the guy we're gonna put the faith in for our offense.
Right.
Yeah. In crucial situations, it was always on third and 3, 4th and 1, or on the 4th and goal. Like you're putting Carlos Hyde in. Like,
yeah, no, there's so much. Also, like, why do we run the spread? What was the spread for? Has the spread ever worked to Urban ever in like the history of the NFL? Have you seen the spread work? Why are we running 5 wide every down?
And now you're going to be running like
doing?
A slightly modified spread offense with Doug Peterson. He runs like a weird West Coast spread hybrid.
And I'm okay with that because at least there's a tight end, like there's 2 extra blockers that any given play, but no, like 5 wide with I'm trying to think, was it O'Shaughnessy most of the year? Or was it
I know, O'Shaughnessy, yeah.
That's the extra blocker who didn't block, so it was.
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
Oh. It was too much.
Listen, I complain a lot about the Bears offense and how horrible it was, which it was. But watching the Jaguars offense, it was like I don't even have words to describe what was going on there. Yeah.
But I knew at this beginning of the season, I saw that the last week of the year was the Colts week, and I was like, our offense will look so good that day. And it did. I was like, that was a peak moment in my life. I think I peaked that Sunday morning because the Lions won too, and so I was really happy. I was like, we still get the first pick, and we beat the Colts. It was the best day of my life.
And then you made a decision with the first pick, that's for sure.
I like Trayvon Walker. Listen, I like Trayvon Walker a lot.
That's one thing I would like to mention. Trayvon Walker is liked in the South.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, because we all got to watch him at Georgia. So, like, it made sense for us to go Trayvon Walker and Michigan to stay in Detroit, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I live in Michigan also.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. This is a Wayne State University t-shirt. But yeah, it was a lot of my friends are State fans, so when they drafted Aiden Hutchinson, they were very concerned because I kept playing the Georgia tape to them. I was like,
yeah,
look at this guy you guys drafted 2nd overall.
Yeah, he's a weird case. By the way, I should probably do my intro real quick before we keep going, which I'm not complaining. Great conversation so far, but like that's just something that completely slipped my mind. Yeah. So, alrighty, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Ball Knower Podcast Team Preview Series. I'm your host as always, David Miller, joined today by 2 wonderful guests. Up to the top left, we have AJ, and up to the top right, we have Ian, right? Just want to double check that one? Okay. And then Ian, what's your podcast name if you want to plug that real quick before we get started?
Yeah, so we are, I have a co-host. We are the PI podcast. We talk all things football Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern every week.
Awesome. All right. Well, if it wasn't obvious from the 3 minutes of talking we've already done, we're talking about the Jaguars today. So I guess we'll just keep going with what we were going with, but I want to talk about Trayvon Walker specifically. He's an interesting prospect because you can definitely see the vision with him. Like, he's got a fantastic build, and he's a solid athlete. He's smart. He's great against the run. It's just as a pass rusher, I feel like he leaves a lot to be desired because he wasn't rushing the passer a whole lot at Georgia. It just wasn't his thing. And when he was, it felt like he was just kind of getting pushed around out there. And I don't know if that was just the way that was set up. Maybe they were trying to draw attention to him to free up other guys or something along those lines. But it feels like he just isn't, like, it feels like he's still kind of at square one as a pass rusher. And if he's going to be like your guy, that's obviously worrisome because you got to rely on this team, this Jaguars organization, to develop him. And we saw what happened the last time they tried to take a developmental edge rusher with good traits with Kayvon Chason, who is awful. And I'm not saying Walker is going to be Chason 2.0 or anything, but like, he could be in that same vein of just not panning out if they don't do the right thing with him. And I don't trust that organization to necessarily do it.
I think that a lot of people that are low on Walker like forget that Josh Allen exists on the other edge.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like he's going to be developing with a top 10, I would say top 5 edge rusher on the other side. And so like he doesn't have to be that guy that gets to the quarterback every single play because you already have that guy. And having a weak side good run stopper already developed, being an edge rusher is easier to learn than being a run stopper. You know, like plugging holes is way harder to learn than how to blitz a quarterback. And I'm very high on him.
I get
He's
that.
also 6'6" and runs a 4.5.
Yeah, he's an insane athlete. Physically, he's crazy.
Side, the upside is so big. It's like I would put it up with a Khalil Mack level upside. Like out of just his athletic ability.
Yeah, like I said, I understand the vision. I understand why he went first overall. But I'm just really, really concerned about what he is as a pass rusher. And you're right. You have Josh Allen, so he has that kind of benefit. But when you're taking a guy number 1 overall, you want him to be able to do everything. You can't just be like, well, he's our run stopper, and that's what he is. Like the Bears did that in 2017 with Leonard Floyd. He was taken like 9th overall, and he didn't even finish out his contract there. And it's just not the type of guy you take in the top 10 if that's your expectation for him. You want him to be able to do everything. And maybe I'm just underselling what the Jaguars organization can do with him. But then again, like I said, we saw what they did with Chason, and that there's not a lot of reasons to be confident that they're going to be able to develop his pass rushing ability correctly because he's not a dude with a lot of bend. He doesn't have a lot of moves in his bag, so to speak. He doesn't know the technical, the swim moves, power moves, things like that. He doesn't have all that kind of refined. It's almost like he's starting from square one as a pass rusher. He needs to learn how to get that first step. He needs to learn how to utilize his power when he's rushing the quarterback, and he needs to learn those moves. And I'm just really, really concerned that he's not going to be able to do that in Jacksonville.
I think that so Dwamey Smoot is was our original, like the guy before. Right. I'm assuming it's gonna be like who's Walker's gonna take his position, and he's a lot different as a player, but they were good at the same things coming out of college. And Dwamey Smoot became a significantly better pass rusher in the NFL than he was in college.
Right.
And so I think underneath and the thing is Dwamey Smoot is like 6'3", like 280, probably ran like a 4.8. Like he's not the most freakishly athletic player, but he learned how to be a good pass rusher in the NFL. And I think that's like the same thing we can expect from Trayvon Walker is learning how to do it, but because of his athletic ability, it'll be like that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm just, like I said, basing this kind of off a precedent with Chason because you see that, and it's this obviously not the same player. Walker's ceiling is way higher, but like the same type of situation where you're trying to develop this guy to really be that dude for you, and you just flat out failed. So I don't know. It's a tough situation. I still think they would have been better off taking like Aiden Hutchinson or
Thibodeau.
Yeah, Thibodeau. His name just escaped me for a moment. Yeah, I think Thibodeau is going to be the best of the three long term.
He's going to be so good.
Thibodeau is going to be a star, but he did end up in the perfect spot. Him playing in New York in a Wink Martindale defense is going to be a match made in heaven. I think that might have been my favorite fit of the whole draft. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was going to say two things about Trayvon Walker that I like.
Okay.
One, I think him being on the team is going to help Josh Allen produce more.
Okay.
Because you do have a dominant guy, athletic guy to push the line back a little bit. And even if, Walker doesn't get a lot of sacks, but Josh Allen spikes, I'll be happy with that. And two, if he doesn't work out at an edge, he played multiple positions in college.
True.
So let's say he doesn't work out at edge, he could go to the line, inside line. He could go to linebacker. There's a lot of things he could do. So if he is a bust at the edge, he could go anywhere else.
That's fair.
I think he was lining up. I don't know if they ran at Georgia, but I know they had probably a 4-3 or 3-4, or either one of those two. And I know that he lined up on the line with people outside of him. I'm trying to think of where he was though on the actual line. But yeah, you're right. Like he could very easily be moved anywhere and learn something new, if it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, I suppose. But then again, like I said, it's just the concept of taking a guy number 1 overall like that. You want him to pan out as an edge rusher. You don't want to have to try to place him somewhere and find out where he fits. You want him to be a cornerstone guy. And that's a little bit of my concern. Like, say, for example, they're taking him at 20, where they ended up taking Devin Lloyd. Different story. I'm singing a completely different tune. I'm like, you took a guy with upside. He can do a little bit of everything. It's different. It's just kind of the context of where he was drafted for me.
I think if they thought he'd be there at 20, they would have taken him. They would have selected him though. I think because he had a lot of hype the last week, the last month of the draft. His stock rose so much. And I think that originally, and I'm thinking, kind of being thinking in my brain. If originally they probably had someone else on the line, they're probably going to take Evan Neal number 1, and then try to get Trayvon Walker at 20.
Yeah.
Or try to move up and get an edge rusher because they traded during the draft. Mm-hmm. But I think they realized oh no, he's going to be gone. He's getting moved up that much.
Yeah.
And there's no one. There's really not really anyone in the trade market either. Outside of, I don't know who would want to take an edge rusher over the Lions or the Giants even.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of up and down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Walker would have been there at 20 either. I just mean that type of player, taking them later in the draft would make more sense. Yeah. But I guess you're right. The hype around Walker was too much. There was no chance they were not going to get him if they didn't get him at number 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways to look at it. There's reasons to be okay with it. There's reasons to be upset about it. It's a very polarizing pick. And I think we knew that going in, that if that was going to be the pick, it was going to cause a lot of concerns and a lot of people are going to be fine with it. Now, unless you guys want to add anything, I want to move on to another one of their draft prospects.
Yeah, that was a good discussion.
Yeah. So Devin Lloyd was their second pick, and that's another guy I'm not a big fan of. Yeah, he's great in coverage. Don't get me wrong. He's a really good coverage linebacker, but he's I don't like him against the run. I don't think he's an excellent athlete. I don't know. It's the big thing for me. Okay, and I'm a little bit old school, granted, so maybe I'm just not looking at it through the lens of the new age linebacker. But the dude can't tackle. His form is horrendous. He gets down and lunges into he'll come to a complete stop and lunge into the ball carrier head first, and that's how you break your neck. That is how you end up like Ryan Shazier at the end of the day. And I just can't trust a linebacker that's doing that kind of stuff. And form is one of those things where it's hard to change it once it's become ingrained in your brain and it's muscle memory for you at this level. So it's not something that I'm I think they can work that out in post, so to speak. But I don't know. Lloyd, I understand the hype. I understand why people are looking at him. But to me, he's just a kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type of guy. He can do a little bit of everything. But apart from coverage, he's not excellent at anything.
Well, I think Devin Lloyd, I think one good thing he's going to bring to the team is his leadership. I don't know if you'd seen some of his college stuff, but he had a couple teammates die and stuff.
Right.
And then their defense was the cornerstone of why they won the championship. So I think that's one really good, valuable piece. And that's something Miles Jack just couldn't get down.
Mm-hmm.
He was not a guy that could call plays on defense. He he was very one-dimensional, kind of, and I think he replaced him better. But the bigger piece on the linebacker core is Foyeside Aluakon.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be the tackling machine on that defense, and I think the two of them together, having a really good coverage linebacker and then a very good tackler of the football, is going to be really good. Plus, our defensive coordinator was the linebacker coach over in Tampa Bay.
Right. Yeah, I get having one guy that can do each thing, but I mean, like I said, it's almost like Lloyd's tackling is a liability for him, and I just can't get behind a linebacker that's like that. Like if he was a subpar tackler, like if he could do it, he just didn't excel at it, or he was good at least wrapping the guy up or took weird angles or something. But the fact that he's like basically trying to kill himself every time he goes out there to tackle somebody is like a huge red flag in my opinion.
I think that like the thing with like he said, like a Locon coming in is like I was super excited about that move. I'm not gonna lie. I like sat there and pumped my fist for a good 5 minutes. But like with the Devin Lloyd like draft pick as well, it's like every team I've seen that's built really good defenses around like two solid linebackers have had their linebackers have been specialists. They're not do it all guys. You know what I mean? Like Luke Kuechly and what's his name? Brian is it Brian something?
You thinking of Thomas
The
Davis?
linebacker. Yeah, Thomas Davis. I was thinking of Brian Thomas for some reason. And like the Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis is a better tackler than Luke Kuechly was. Luke Kuechly was a great in coverage. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think Devin Lloyd just needs to develop to be a better tackler. I don't think that's something he just can't develop at all. But he does need to develop it. But I think those two could make a really, really strong interior like linebacking core.
Yeah. It's another thing like Walker where I understand the vision, and you're right. You know, it pays to have one guy that can do one thing excellent and another guy that can do another thing excellent. But my point with Lloyd is he's a liability as a tackler straight up, and maybe he can fix it, but I really just don't like a linebacker coming out of college that just can't tackle. Like I said early on, it's ingrained in your brain. It's muscle memory. The way you tackle, you're going to learn at a young age, and that's going to carry with you. And yeah, you can alter, you can change it, but at the end of the day, it's there. And you got to do a lot of work and have a lot of conditioning to completely basically reprogram your brain on how you tackle. And if Devin Lloyd can't do that, he's going to wind up hurting himself or someone else very badly. And I'm very concerned about that. Yeah, he's great in coverage. I'm not going to deny that. I understand the hype around him, but I'm just personally not quite as high on him because of that. I don't think it was a bad pick or anything. I just have more concerns with him than most people, I think, is kind of my point here.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. I can't argue against it. It's very valid point. I think our point is just like, we hope.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it is hope because you never know what they're going to do when they come from college to here. You know, you always see like third and fourth round picks that end up being Hall of Famers, and then the first round picks don't pan out. You know.
Yeah. The drafts, it's very finicky. You're right. It's very unpredictable. Now continuing on with their draft class, skipping over somebody real quick. We'll come back to him in a minute. They took two linebackers. They also took Chad Muma in the third round. And I've seen a lot of people hate on this pick because of the type of defense Jacksonville's running. They're going to be running a 3-4. You're only really utilizing two off-ball linebackers. And when you have so many needs, especially like offensively, to double dip on linebackers is kind of weird. But I feel like I don't hate that pick as much as most people do. How do you guys feel about it?
You can go first.
I was gonna say is I like the pick a lot actually. Yeah. I think there's even if there is that Muma doesn't play as much or Lloyd doesn't play as much, there's still it's a rotation kind of thing, and I think it's a good rotation to have. Muma's a really good Muma's a really good linebacker. I thought he was gonna be gone, and I did like a bunch of mocks before, and I always had him in like the late second, and like he was there, and they took him. I was like, that's just a good best available pick, and I liked it even if it was like that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the best available instead of drafting a need, because obviously you draft a need, they probably don't pan out. Chason at one point was a need and he didn't work. So you go best available, you have a higher chance, in my opinion, at the position being successful than you do if you draft a need and then you really need that guy to perform and he can't. At least Chad Muma gets to sit behind one proven good linebacker with a linebacker coach, and you hope he performs well and eventually can get in the starting rotation.
Yeah, I agree when it comes to drafting best available, especially if you're a team that has a lot of holes. Like Chicago, for example, got a lot of shit for their draft. They took 2 defensive players before they addressed the offensive side of the ball. But at the end of the day, they took 2 guys that they were super high on that kind of have a higher probability of panning out. And they just happen to be at 2 positions of need. But Jacksonville is definitely a team that can't really be picky right now. They got to get all the help they can get. And I mean, worst case, if you have a third linebacker that can rotate in and still give you, solid play, or even if he's coming in on like third down back there with Lloyd as more of a coverage guy, since Foyer is more your run stuffing linebacker. If they're going to run packages like that, I don't think it's a bad pick whatsoever. I think it's a good way to add depth, a good way to have a rotation. And we see a lot of defense nowadays, mainly on the D line, but starting to become a trend with linebackers as well, where they're trying to rotate guys out as much as possible to keep everybody fresh and whatnot. So I thought it was a solid pick.
Right, and I do think our defense is going to get tired. You got to think of the division we play in. Hitting Derrick Henry 2 games a year, hitting Jonathan Taylor 2 games a year, and we're also playing the entire AFC West, who's going to be throwing the ball all over the place this year. So I think it was solid to have multiple coverage backers.
Yeah,
that's a good pick.
Yeah, like I see where people are coming from.
I'm just talking about it.
You're fine. Yeah, I understand why people are upset. Like I said, it was mostly people looking at it as, well, you need more help offensively. Why are you doubling up on linebackers? But kind of like you said, Ian, if you're a team that's in this type of situation, you take the best player available. And in this case, the best player available is probably going to help them out,
Mm-hmm.
So moving back, the pick we kind of skipped over, we got Luke Fortner at center. I am admittedly not too familiar with him. I didn't watch a whole lot of tape on him. He wasn't somebody that was on my radar. So do you guys have any sort of opinions on him, or are you just kind of like, yeah, it's an offensive lineman?
I was in the boat of it's an offensive lineman. I personally wanted to see more offensive line picks. We lost our left guard, Norwell. We picked up a right guard in Brandon Scherf, but then Brandon Linder retires. So we got a hole at center and left guard, and our depth on the line is just not that great. We do have our 3rd round pick last year, Walker Little, who's sitting the bench. Hopefully takes over the right tackle spot. But I think Luke comes right in and starts at center.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with the pick, or I'm not hyped about it either. It's just
right.
I was hoping when we traded up, I was hoping we drafted a center or a guard instead of Lloyd. I'm not gonna lie, if we drafted Lloyd, I was fine with it. But I was like, we do really need interior offensive linemen really bad, especially because again, like Linder did retire. Like that was the heart of our offensive line was Linder before too. Like, he was our by far the only good offensive lineman we had for a minute, and so then him being gone. And then, like, not really seeing a replacement until the 2nd round was like, okay, that's unnerving a little bit. But
right.
And Brandon Scherf has an injury history, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got multiple offensive linemen that get hurt all the time and no depth at the position.
Right. Yeah, Scherf was a home run pickup for you guys, though. I thought that was a great signing. Injuries aside, he's a stud. He's a stud.
Especially, like, we let Norwell go, and I was like, okay, but that kind of sucks. But he signed Scherf, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I like
right.
That.
I just hate that they were on opposite sides of the line, so you didn't really like replace each other. They were brand new to their position or whatever.
Yeah.
So who's
it just depends. Like, I think that they're gonna try to move someone to left, like that. Like I was thinking, my big brain moment of the day was like, if Jawan Taylor gets a little quicker, move him to guard. I hate seeing him at tackle.
I do too. I hate seeing him at tackle.
But it's like move Scherf to left guard, move Taylor to right guard, so he can be useless in a useless position.
See, I don't have any problems with Jawan Taylor. I thought he was all right. I mean, he's not perfect. Obviously, he has flaws, but I mean, I thought he was all right. I didn't think he was the worst starter on your offensive line.
I think we were on Twitter earlier, and you were the one that made the comment about I hate a guy that says like watch the tape or whatever. But with Jonathan Taylor, if you watch the tape, he false starts every single play.
Okay, yeah.
Every single play. And then he has the audacity to false start and get his hands up second.
Yeah.
How do you jump? How do you go early and still miss your hands every time? Like that was like him, and I think it was AJ Can, the guard.
Yeah,
like,
I'm glad he's gone too.
I was like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was watching Taylor last year, and you're right. He was kind of a false start magnet. I'll give you that. But
it never got called. It never got called.
Listen, if the ref doesn't see it, who cares?
Yeah.
He just passed off the line.
Exactly. He's just too quick. He's just way too quick. Which was actually something I had written down. I have like notes on some specific players. And for Juwan Taylor, I literally have quick hands and quick feet. So that's kind of ironic. Because, I mean, he does have quick hands and quick feet. It's just he's not the strongest dude. His anchor's a little bit iffy. But if he can get in the weight room and kind of put a little bit on, I think he can be a fine tackle for you guys long term. And obviously he needs to maybe slow down just a little bit. Just a hair. But continuing on here with this draft, you got Snoop Connor in the 5th round, which, I mean, we were talking about the running backs kind of at the start here. It's an interesting pick considering the running back room you have.
Yeah, it was interesting, but both our starting running backs are coming off serious injuries.
Yeah,
serious injuries.
So I can kind of understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and like, I'm sorry, I was gonna say Etienne's injury is something that like people rarely come back from like the same. And so, like, I was again kind of hoping we'd find another running back just in case.
Yeah.
And the 5th round's not bad for it.
Yeah. Like, but it's kind of ironic with Etienne because Snoop Connor is like the complete opposite. Etienne's a shifty, quick pass catcher. Snoop Connor's just a straight bruiser. So, I don't know. Maybe they're thinking. Maybe they were just really worried about James Robinson. Maybe they think Urban Meyer was onto something, and they're like, you know what? We need a bruiser. We need a guy back there. Yeah, maybe that ends up being the case. Maybe we were all wrong and Urban was right. How fucking hilarious would that be?
I know. I do think out of everything, I think Urban Meyer was right on the Travis Etienne pick.
Yeah, I agree.
I like it.
I don't like it a lot because obviously I wanted to see a bigger need filled there. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself. I said draft best player and not need in the draft, but
I think there were better players though available.
At that point it was like we really needed wide receivers last year, and they were, I don't know, we needed them this year, but at least we addressed the wide receiver position a little bit in free agency.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think the thing with ETN was they saw, the whole concept of reuniting Burrow and Chase. And they're like, you know what, Trevor? Let's do the same thing for you. But we're not going to get your receiver. We're going to get your running back.
Yeah.
And
I thought they were going to get Justin Ross this year, actually. In the 7th.
I did too.
I still don't understand how he went undrafted. That's still insane to me.
His injury was pretty bad.
Yeah.
There was a lot of health concerns with him.
But
it's a 7th round pick.
The Chiefs apparently love him.
He's been killing it for them. And I understand the injury thing, but taking a flyer in the 7th round on Justin Ross, I think that would have been a fine choice for anybody.
He was the number 1 receiver his freshman year. He was gonna be the guy.
Yeah.
6'4", runs like a 4.5.
Great.
I watched highlights too.
Yeah.
Of Trevor and Justin Ross, and they were good together.
Yeah.
It's the chemistry thing. And I was like, please, dear God, let them draft Justin Ross in the 6th. I kept checking my phone because I was driving home from my friend's house from the draft. I was like, please go. Please.
It is crazy he went undrafted though.
Yeah.
Completely undrafted.
Yeah.
I thought that was wild.
I understand.
I just thought he'd be a Jaguar. I just assumed.
Yeah, I understand him falling. I completely understand that because his injury was bad. But a guy with that kind of talent, to let him go undrafted is kind of crazy.
I also remember it took a while for him to get signed too. After the draft, it wasn't even he was one of the first free agents.
I know.
I was sitting there after the undrafted free agency part. I was like, please, dear God, let Woj let me know. Let Schefter text me.
Schefter texts you personally, just lets you know, and then he drops it. Yeah.
I'm waiting for Schefter to text me.
After the draft, I was expecting Justin Ross' name to be on the Jaguars list, but
I mean, can you blame him though? He went to the best quarterback in football, so
Justin Ross he's going to be fine there. He's fast enough to get down the field. I'm not going to say he's going to replace Tyreek Hill in any means, but he's got the speed to match what Tyreek Hill had, and if they can utilize it.
And on top of that, he's got a big frame. That's something Patrick Mahomes has never really had to get the ball to.
Yeah.
Yep.
On the outside, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Travis Kelce.
Right. Yeah. But I meant in terms of a receiver. But yeah. Even though Travis Kelce at this point is basically a glorified receiver.
Yeah.
Because
the receiver that can block sometimes.
Sometimes.
If he wanted to.
Sometimes.
If he wants, if he feels like it.
Yeah. Now, moving on, last 2 picks, you took 2 corners, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know jack shit about Brown. I'm not familiar with him whatsoever. But Gregory Jr., first of all, fantastic name. Second of all, was a really interesting pick because the dude has like all of the traits in the world. He's super fast. He's got really good technique, great field awareness. He's smooth. He's super athletic. Like I said, I mean, he's a good ball player. It's just he needs that little bit of refining, and he's a pick that could not secretly, quietly be one of the steals of the draft if he can pan out.
Yeah, the problem is I think with him, the competition he faced just wasn't. He went to a small school, so you don't know.
It was what
how
Wichita
he's line
Baptist,
up against.
I think.
Yeah, it's the first player ever drafted by them or something like that from that school. So obviously that's a little concerning, but it's a 7th or 6th round pick.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't really matter. It really don't.
Yeah,
I am the same. It's just he had good tape. He did everything right.
Yeah,
he's not a big name.
Right. Yeah. Even though he should have been. I mean, listen, genuinely speaking, the name Gregory Jr. is incredible. That's awesome.
Gregory Jr.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, it is a concern whether or not the competition he was facing was anything. But like AJ said, the tape was fantastic. He did everything right. It's just questioning whether or not he'll be able to translate to against higher level talent, which thankfully Jacksonville has a solid enough corner core that he's going to kind of be like that 4th, 5th, maybe 6th guy.
Right.
So it's not like he's going to be going up against, I don't know, are there really any number 1 receivers in your division at this point?
You could
Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks. I'm sorry, I forgot about Cooks.
Brandon Cooks and Pittman. Pittman's pretty good.
Yeah, Pittman's
I think
solid.
Pittman would be a 2 on most teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in that
Cooks,
school of thought as well. Yeah, I forgot about Cooks for a moment. Yeah, Cooks is a wide receiver 1 for sure. He's a stud.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Funny story about Brandon Cooks. I just seen a tweet that said Brandon Cooks is going to be a Hall of Famer. That's a stretch.
I don't think it's as much of a stretch as you might think.
I know he's had the 1,000-yard receiving
consistency
yards for
wise. Yeah, he's been incredible.
But is Mike Evans a Hall of Famer already?
I think Mike Evans has a little bit of work to do, but he's building his way there, and I think Cooks would kind of be in the same camp.
Yeah, I mean, like Mike Evans had 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
Every season he's been in the league, he's been 1,000 yards, and he's a ring.
Yeah, I can see the path for them to get to the Hall of Fame. They got more work to do. I'm not saying they're locks right now, but I see where people are coming from. I understand the path, and if they get him an All-Pro selection, maybe keep putting up the numbers, do that kind of thing, maybe crack the top 10 all-time in receiving yards, I could see it. I could absolutely see it. But I wouldn't call them locks or anything right now. So I think to say Brandon Cooks right now is a Hall of Famer is a bit goofy, but I don't know. I guess I understand it long term.
Just realized Brandon Cooks has played with so many great players, but also Davis Mills. Just like Mike Evans has been catching balls from Tom Brady the last 2 years, but before that it was Jameis Winston. I don't know how they have these great seasons. That's a good argument.
Yeah, that might speak to their Hall of Fame resume, exactly.
Yeah, I would add that to it.
Yeah.
1,000 yards with Davis Mills is different. I'll give him that. That's something.
All right, so moving on from the draft, I think the next best place to go here is talk about Doug Peterson, the new head coach. He's somebody that I think is another polarizing individual because he looked bad that last year with Philly. There was a reason he got fired, but I trust Doug. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just blind faith, but I have a gut feeling that Doug's going to do well.
I trust Doug with my whole heart. Doug won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I want to believe that Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Nick Foles, mostly because I saw Nick Foles in Jacksonville, and it was not great.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to believe that Trevor Lawrence is better than Nick Foles, and I want to believe that Doug Peterson can make us a 2 games away from a playoff contender. That's what I believe in this team right now.
Yeah, that's the goal. I think it was Doug Peterson was the absolute safest pick that we could have possibly done.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of hype around Byron Leftwich too, which I don't think he would have been a bad choice. He was actually my top choice to be a head coach, but Doug Peterson has proven he can do it. Byron Leftwich, I mean, he had good seasons with Jameis Winston. I mean, he had him throwing for 5,000 yards. But then the last 2's been with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's calling most of the shots on that offense. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the big thing with Doug, first of all, is that offense he's going to be running is incredibly similar to what Trevor was running in college. So that's huge for him. And I think the personnel they have offensively fits his offense very well. Like Evan Ingram, for as much as we can joke about his hands and how he hasn't necessarily been...
signing, actually.
Yeah, I thought he was a good signing, especially when you think about the way that type of offense likes to utilize the tight end, where they're basically playing in the slot the majority of the time, like we saw with Zach Ertz back in Philly. And Chicago tried it with Jimmy Graham because let's put the oldest, slowest tight end possible in the slot and see if it works. Yeah. But Evan Ingram, I mean, he's a super athletic dude, so he fits that bill perfectly. He's got to work on his hands, but I am in the camp that not having good hands, or I guess we'll label it as like concentration drops, if that's what we want to think the issue is something that's very coachable. I don't think that's something that's necessarily like the end all be all of a receiver, but if he can get that settled, I mean, he fits that scheme perfectly. I think Evan Ingram was a solid signing as well.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that Doug Peterson is a better coach than Evan Ingram's played with. I mean, you got to think Joe Judge and Ben McAdoo. What's that really doing for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely fair.
I think Evan Ingram might be playing with his best quarterback now, so he might be able to catch the ball a little better.
Right, that's another thing
might be a tighter spiral.
Yeah, because he was playing with like the husk of Eli Manning and Geno Smith and Daniel Jones and Mike Glennon. Like, I don't think a real quarterback has ever thrown him a pass, at least at the NFL level. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about him. I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, this is nice. We haven't had like a good receiving tight end
I know. We've not ever had an explosive tight end. Mercedes Lewis was a good tight end, but he was not explosive. Yeah, he was not explosive.
He's a great tight end, but he was mostly a blocker.
Yeah, and you've got a guy kind of like that right now as well with Manhurts, right? Am I mistaken with that?
And, a good blocking tight end. Yeah,
and our big receiving threat was James O'Shaughnessy,
who is now with the Chicago Bears.
He's in Chicago. Yep. Yeah, I was going to say
he's in Chicago now.
Yeah, he's like our tight end 3 though, so I'm not sweating it too much. Yeah, we got Kmet. I'm a big Kmet believer. I think he's going to be a superstar. So
that's Stan.
Yeah, I am a Kmet stan. Absolutely. But I think if Evan Ingram, you can get good production out of him, that will be big, because I do not have a lot of faith in this receiver room. I really don't. Like, Christian Kirk is all right. I'm not going to say he's a bad receiver or anything, but you shelled out a bag for him, which, you don't love considering
go
ahead.
So I was going to say with the Christian Kirk thing, I believe the Jaguars did all they possibly could in free agency. I don't think there was a better receiver than Christian Kirk willing to come here.
Right.
Even if you threw 150 million at him. So like Christian Kirk, by far the best option you could have gotten. Zay Jones was also probably the best option you could have gotten. And I don't love the wide receivers after all those that went in 13, 14, 15 in the draft. I didn't like any of them after that. So I'm glad we didn't waste a draft pick and we signed who we could.
I don't know. I was a big fan of this year's receiver class personally, and I guess that's just coming down to what we took away from the tape and whatnot.
Well, I did like the receiving class, but all the good ones went before.
See, there were still guys I was a big fan of going in like the 6th, 7th round, a couple undrafted guys. I went deep into this year's receiver class because of Chicago needing receivers, so I was a big fan of a lot of guys there. But I mean, Christian Kirk, he was the best receiver available, most likely, unless you want to count Allen Robinson, but he's not going to go back to Jacksonville after the bullshit he pulled. Which, real quick as a side note, do you guys like Allen Robinson?
I miss Allen Robinson.
I was going to say all the Jaguars fans love Allen Robinson.
We really missed him a lot.
Then he left you guys with a different impression than he left Chicago, because I hate that man. I have a deep hatred for Allen Robinson.
I completely agree with you, because I've watched him in Chicago, and he was not the same guy he was in Jacksonville at all.
He was probably just angry.
Yeah.
I feel like just pissed.
Yeah.
He went from an AFC championship to playing under Matt Nagy
and Mitch Trubisky.
And then a rookie QB, and the rookie QB doesn't throw in the ball. And he's
no. Let's not get that twisted. Let's not get that twisted.
He was lazy on his route.
Exactly.
He was lazy on his route.
Justin wasn't throwing him the ball. Allen didn't want the ball. Allen wanted to be a little crybaby over to the side and be like, well, I'm not getting the ball. And then he bitched and left. I hate Allen Robinson. He's a bitch. Point blank period, he's a bitch.
I choose to believe as a Michigan, the University of Michigan hater and a Jaguars fan, that Allen Robinson was ever lazy in his life.
No, if you go back and watch Allen Robinson in Chicago last year, it's a Matt Nagy offense, so it's not like he's going to be getting the greatest route assignments anyways. Like, it was a extremely oversaturated amount of curl routes. I don't think I've ever seen a player run more curl routes in my entire life. Like, Matt Nagy had this philosophy that if it's 3rd and 10, you throw it 2 yards of the sticks and you expect the receiver to get the first down no matter what. And it never worked. But besides that, I mean, he was just lazy on his routes. He wouldn't run block. There's one play in particular that I have a video saved of where Justin is taken off out of the pocket. Robinson's the only receiver ahead of him. He just kind of tails it out of bounds, lets Justin get popped by a corner. Like, just didn't try at all. He kind of walked out of bounds.
Welcome to the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, but you can't do that as a team's number one receiver. You can't let your quarterback get hit like that. So I don't know. He just left Bears fans with a bad taste in their mouth because of how he acted. So I was curious with the Jags, because I know the organization and him don't get along very well. So I was wondering how it was with the fans.
They gave Marquise Lee money instead of him. That's what happened.
Well,
we extended Marquise Lee instead of Allen Robinson because Allen Robinson had an ACL injury.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a horrible mistake. I like Marquise Lee. Horrible mistake. We should not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was there.
Well, you probably would have just gotten more of the diva that is Allen Robinson because, I can't get a good quarterback to play with. No, listen, all of these narratives around Allen Robinson are self-inflicted. I don't care what anyone says. Like, this bullshit that he's never played with a good quarterback. When he was in free agency, it came down to Green Bay and Chicago. He said, do I play with Aaron Rodgers or do I play with Mitch Trubisky? And he chose wrong.
The bag. He chose the bag. That's what he chose.
Green Bay wasn't paying him much less. It was a slight pay cut, but not enough to justify going to Mitch Trubisky.
Every dollar counts.
Listen, whatever. Anyways, my point
That's a pay cut I'm not willing to take. That's what he said.
Well, it's a pay cut you're not willing to take, but you're sacrificing playing with one of the greatest of all time.
It's like play with Mitch Trubisky. How much money? What's the difference? Yeah. It's like $3. Not for me.
Yeah. But continuing on with this receiver core, Christian Kirk, I don't think is a bad receiver. And you're right. He was the best guy available apart from Allen Robinson or I guess Robert Woods. Oh, though he was a trade, right? I can't remember.
He was traded.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he got traded or cut and then signed the next day. But either way, there weren't a lot of options. And Christian Kirk is solid. I think he's a good wide receiver too. I think he's a good slot guy. Mm-hmm. But if he's going to be your number one, that leaves me with a lot more questions than answers. And then beyond that, you're looking at a bunch of guys who are a wide receiver 4 on most teams. Like Marvin Jones is solid, but he's not going to get any better. He's starting to hit that regression. Zay Jones is solid if you're going to bring him in for a handful of snaps as your wide receiver 4. Laviska Shenault, he has potential after the catch, but he's not a great route runner. His hands aren't fantastic. He's kind of I know every receiver that's good after the catch gets this comp, but he really does fit the Deebo Samuel mold just with 2% of the talent. He can do the same thing after the catch.
He's insane.
Yeah.
After the catch, he's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. His routes are horrid. There's that clip of, I think, him and who was the other? I think it's Marvin Jones, maybe. They're running into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the ball flying past their heads as they collide.
Yeah.
But also a lot of it is the play calling. The play calling last year and the routes that are being given are were really bad.
Yeah.
Yep. That was actually what I was about to say. I think Doug Peterson is going to get the most out of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I'll say, they're veteran options for a year 2 quarterback that really had a non-factor rookie year in terms of development.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he's going to be going into his year 2 with like half a season worth of rookiness that a normal quarterback like
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones would be coming in with a full year worth of rookie year like moments. Trevor didn't get that chance. He had poor coaching. The distractions were terrible. So he's going to have an NFL head coach drawing up NFL plays. And the veteran receivers are going to help Trevor, I think, in his development.
Yeah.
So if anything else this year, I think it's more of a development year than it is to, go 10 wins, 11 wins. I think this is all about developing Trevor this year.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that also because even last year, did the horrible things we had to sit through, Trevor looked comfortable. And he looked comfortable playing against NFL competition. Like he would step into throws. You'd see edge rushers coming off the edge. Like he'd step into his throw instead of running away from it. Like Mac Jones does still, and Zach Wilson does. These rookie quarterbacks were doing that because it's a different competition. But Trevor was he looked comfortable.
Absolutely.
And I think that this year of just developing, perfect.
Yeah.
He can just read defenses, and he's extremely comfortable being under duress. I have no issue, like you said, with our receiving room because of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look, if you're chalking this up to a developmental year, it could be worse. But and I will say I'm on your side with this. I think the idea that a young quarterback needs superstar receivers around him day one is kind of overblown. Yeah, it helps. But how many
It does.
But how many young quarterbacks are coming into the league with 2 All-Pros on either side and a borderline Pro Bowler as your third option with a stellar offensive line and great head coaching? It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And guys like Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, people are like, well, I'm really concerned about their development because their receiver core is bad. But if they're really going to be that dude, if they're that good of a quarterback, it's not going to matter. They can elevate those around them. They can make the guys around them look a lot better. That's why I'm not super concerned about Justin's receiver core. And like I said, this receiver core is rough, but for Trevor's sake, I'm not super concerned about it either.
Yeah. I take it back to the 2017 year. We were a quarterback away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And now we have someone potentially who is miles better than Blake Bortles, potentially. We don't really know yet.
I would say that they'd win that game with Trevor.
Yes. Even in a
certainly.
year 2 or year 3 Trevor Lawrence, I believe he could
I think also
overtake that.
The AFC Championship game was lost by Doug Marrone. But
a lack of trust in Blake Bortles as well.
Yeah, and the referee that hates us.
Yeah, Miles Jack wasn't down.
Miles Jack wasn't down. Hashtag Miles Jack wasn't down.
But I also say we kneeled the ball going into halftime.
Yeah,
because of Blake Bortles at quarterback.
Yeah.
So we have a guy we can trust, and like you said, Trevor Lawrence, if he's as the generational talent that I think he can be, I'm sure. What did you say your name was again? AJ. If he's a generational type quarterback, we think he can be. He will make this wide receiver core way better than what it is.
Like I was saying, he makes the throws. He can get the ball anywhere on the field. I'm obviously biased, but I would say he has 100%. The best arm out of this out of that draft class. That was the whole thing. Is that everyone's saying that Mac Jones or Zach Wilson or Justin Fields is actually better. It's if you watched him play, no one is touching where he can put the ball at any given point. The issue was the routes that were being given and his receiving core not running the routes correctly or not catching the ball.
Yeah.
Because that Colts game, the Colts Week 18 game, when the ball is snapped, the snap fumbles, he runs back, runs around, and just throws it.
Yeah.
A nice
that was the most beautiful throw I've ever seen.
Ball to Marvin Jones.
I was just
that's the throw, but he's made throws that level the entire season.
Yeah.
And no one was acknowledging it.
They weren't caught, they were dropped.
Yeah. There's a touchdown he threw to DJ Chark. That was the most beautiful pass I've ever seen in my life. I was like, this is an Aaron Rodgers throw. That's the caliber of throw that was. No one else is making that throw. But again, all these other things that just break everything down. So only people the stats say, "Oh, he's the worst quarterback in this draft," or
see, that's
like
the
his
problem.
team.
People look at these rookie quarterbacks that get placed in shitty situations like Jacksonville or Chicago or New York, and they're like, well, statistically speaking, they didn't look that great. But if you actually sit down and watch the dude play, you can see why they were so hyped up. You can see where the talent was. And I could go on
Josh Allen.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so Josh Allen's our hope for that. Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills is the reason I have faith in any quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
3 years.
At the end of the day, most rookie quarterbacks are going to suck. Like, look at Peyton Manning's rookie year. He was god-awful. And now he's a top 3 quarterback of all time very easily. And I'm not saying that any of the quarterbacks from this past class are Peyton Manning or anything, but it's a rookie year. You can't expect a guy making that transition from what I consider basically 2 different sports. Going from college to the NFL, it's a completely different monster. You can't expect that guy to seamlessly transition year one, especially when he's on a bad team with bad coaching, bad targets, bad offensive line. All you can hope for is flashes of what you were promised. And like you said, that specific throw against the Colts, that last game of the season, for me at least, that clicked in my head and I was like, okay, we were right. That is Trevor Lawrence. That is what this man is capable of doing. And despite everything around him, I think AJ hit the nail on the head. He was the most poised out of every single quarterback last year. Mm-hmm. His ability in the pocket, like you said, being able to step into throws, not succumb to the pressure, that was like NFL veteran level talent.
Yeah.
That was insane to me as a rookie in that situation with everything against him, being able to do stuff like that. You don't see many rookies being able to do that. And there's people who just completely overlook that because statistically he wasn't that impressive. And the Jaguars didn't win a bunch of football games. So it's like, well, Trevor Lawrence, he didn't look great, so he's a bust already after 1 year. Write it in, he's done. And it's just ridiculous to me. And every young quarterback, apart from like Trey Lance, who ironically looked worse than any of them when he was in, but because he only played 3 games, we don't know yet. And Mac Jones, who was the most system quarterback I think I've ever seen, and Davis Mills, who looked decent on the Texans. Those 3 guys get a pass, but Justin, Trevor, and Zach don't, because they actually went through the ringer. They actually dealt with it, and they were actually put through hell and literally walked to hell and back their rookie year and still managed to look solid, but statistically they were lacking, so they suck. I just hate how people evaluate young quarterbacks nowadays because I feel like they don't watch the game. They just look at the box score. And I need to stop myself now because I could go on a 3-hour rant about that topic itself. But
yeah, I agree.
I think that Jags fans as a whole, like I never see Jags fans really say that Trevor's a bust. At least the ones that I've seen that actually watch the games have never said that Trevor is a bad player.
Right.
I've never talked to someone that's been like, "Oh no, Trevor Lawrence, he's horrible." I'm like, no, you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And again, like a lot of my friends are Lions fans. One of my good friends is a Colts fan, and the Colts fan was like, "If we had Trevor Lawrence, we'd be in the playoffs." I was like, probably.
Yeah, and Trevor gets a lot of goofy complaints too because people are worried about his dedication to the game. Because there was some quote that was taken out of context where he was, God, I don't even remember the exact quote, but there's some quote out there that was it wasn't even the right quote. They pulled it completely out of context, and he said something like, "I don't know if I want to keep doing this," or "I don't know if I need to keep doing this," or "I don't know if I need to prove myself." And people look at that and are questioning his dedication to the game and all that. And I mean, if he took the beating he did last year and was still playing his ass off every single week, I don't think there's any question to whether or not the kid's dedicated.
I think it's crazy is that Week 1 was the first time he's lost a regular season game in his entire life. And even after that, every game he still was on the sideline, keeping his players up. He yelled at Urban Meyer on the sideline, which I was so happy with. Because I was like, that's the quarterback I want. Someone who calls out the coach.
Yep.
Like, if the coach is being dumb, like, I think he yelled about James Robinson not being put in the game. He's like, you have to play your best player in the game, coach.
Yeah.
You can't not do that. And so like I really have a lot of faith in him because even like the whole mental side of it, he's there. He is the perfect prospect.
Yeah.
And a player that, like he said, never lost coming up through Pee-wee football all the way up to college, now to the NFL, where not only does he lose a lot, but his coach is also causing a lot of problems for, he goes out and lose a game. He's not getting questions about the football game. He's getting asked why Urban Meyer was at the bar,
right?
And he answered every question perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I actually watched a lot of post-game interviews this season specifically because I wanted to see his reaction to some of the news and like the questions he got. They were always about Urban Meyer, or the team looked kind of down out there, and it was always that. But a guy that never lost, and he was mature enough at 21, 22 years old to answer those kind of questions consistently. Never, because I know if it was me, I'd be blowing my top off at some of them. Go ask Urban. Like, why are you asking me right now?
Yeah,
so that's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
The fly like just flew in front of the camera.
I saw it.
Scared the shit out of me. I also was like, every time he answered those questions, there it is.
That's that HD camera. You can see the fly in front of it.
Yeah.
It's dust now. But anyway, he answered all the questions. Like, he was always with the players. He always was like working. Like, he was the messenger for all the players.
Mm-hmm.
Even after like Marvin Jones walked out of practice because Urban Meyer was being a dumbass, like he was still like, I am the messenger for my team, and he looked like a captain, And that's something again. It's not really like I don't think I've seen other rookie quarterbacks do that other than like Andrew Luck.
Yeah, Trevor took over right away. As a leader, I was extremely impressed with his ability. And he literally looked like a veteran quarterback out there at times. Like we've said about the poise, the way he handled himself in interviews, the way he handled himself on the sidelines, being able to stand up to Urban Meyer like that. You don't see rookies doing that. That's not a thing that happens. You don't see second or third year guys doing that. That's something when you're like, you got 4 or 5 years under your belt, you're the comfortable starter, the team thinks you're the franchise, that's when you start doing stuff like that. That's like some Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson type stuff. That's not a rookie quarterback thing.
It didn't feel out of place either. It didn't feel like he was doing it with like, I'm a winner, like Meyer said.
It wasn't a diva thing.
It was I want to win. I'm a winner who wants to win.
Yeah. It was that, hey, dumbass, listen up. I'm 21 and I know more than you, so you need to get your shit together right now or we're going to have problems. And then Urban never got his shit together, so they fired him.
Coach.
Yeah.
This is not Dabo's playbook, coach.
Right.
One thing I was going to say, one thing about Urban Meyer as well, this is going to speak high on Trevor Lawrence. I'd seen a tweet earlier that said, this is going to be Trevor Lawrence's first full NFL training camp where he's not splitting reps, because last year they had him splitting reps with Gardner Minshew.
I'm high on Gardner Minshew. I like Gardner Minshew a lot.
I did too. Gardner Minshew did a lot for Jacksonville.
Was our thing.
He's right with Philly now, right?
He was, back up for Jalen Hurts. But he was a bright spot in a very dark time in Jacksonville.
It was a bad time to be in Jacksonville. When I remember, it was like that. So the Gardner's first, like his rookie year, I remember Nick Foles coming back in, and I was so angry. Because I was like, the only reason Nick Foles is in because we're giving him $80 million. And he's ass. And Gardner's so much better. Because Nick Foles played 3 games that year, had 1 touchdown and 3 picks, I think, is like the full. Because in the second game after his collarbone injury, he throws a pick, and Doug Marrone's like, you know what? Throw the kid back in. Throw the kid, give people what they want. And Gardner came out and won the game, I'm pretty sure. He got really damn close to.
He got 6 wins that season.
Yeah. Love the guy.
Yeah.
And then the next year, they benched him because Doug Marrone sucks, and they were trying to find someone to pin it on that wasn't the coach. And I was
can I ask you, did Chicago start? I remember they started like Andy Dalton or Nick Foles or whatever at the very beginning of the season. Did they start Justin like mid-season and then take him out and then put him back in, take him out, put him back in?
The Justin situation was a bit goofy. So he had 1 snap week 1 where he had a rushing touchdown against the Rams.
Right, I remember that.
In week 2, Andy Dalton gets hurt. He hurt his knee like on a run, which it was the least Andy Dalton play I've ever seen. He took off out of the pocket and like hyperextended his knee because he was running too hard. So they throw Justin out there. Yeah. They throw Justin out there, and he actually had a solid game, and we beat the Cincinnati Bengals, who would go on to the Super Bowl. Week 3, Justin's first start, we play the Browns in one of the worst performances I think I've ever seen. Nagy was just like, Justin, go do your thing, and he threw him to the Wolves and didn't give him any help. And then Justin ends up getting hurt somewhere after midseason, maybe week 10-ish, and he came out for a couple games, came back, got COVID, and they sat him the last 2 weeks because he got COVID, couldn't play. So he kind of, but there were reasons for it. It wasn't like benching him. He got hurt and then he got sick.
Okay, because I think that's terrible for a rookie.
Oh, absolutely. Look at what it did to Tua.
Exactly.
When they did that with
Tua would be miles better right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It fucks up their confidence. At the end of the day, the most important thing for a young quarterback is confidence. And if you're going to do that to him, it ruins it. Which Justin, I think, luckily was like, you know what? This organization's a fucking shit show anyways. It's not my fault. I got Matt Nagy calling plays for me. I'm not worried because Justin's been throwing a lot of shade at Nagy this offseason, very subtly. Like talking about, I think we have adults in the building now, and I'm very confident in the people running the team now and things like that. So I think he was aware that was the situation. It wasn't his fault, so I'm hopeful with that. But yeah, you're right. It fucks up a quarterback's confidence. He can't be doing that. Yep. It's awful for him. And
I think with Tua in particular, it's because he also just came off of a potential career-ending injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could have never played football again. And then you keep benching him for no reason. It's not like you're losing or winning more games without him. It's just because.
Mm-hmm. And the same shit happened to Mitch Trubisky, which granted, I don't think Mitch Trubisky would have panned out anyways. I think he's a terrible quarterback. Like we were talking about earlier with Trevor, he doesn't have any of this clicked. Everything up here just isn't there for Mitch. And granted, some of it is because of how he was treated. He was thrown in mid-season his rookie year. They wouldn't let him throw the ball more than like 10 times a game, which is basically saying, hey, kid, we have no confidence in you, but somebody's got to run the offense. And then year 2, they kind of let him do his thing. Year 3, it started to fall apart. Mitch had all these plans for the offense. Nagy was like, yeah, no, trust me. I know what I'm doing. You keep your shit to yourself. Never talk to him. Year 4, that same kind of thing happened. It got to the point, I don't know if you guys have heard this story, where Nagy and Mitch set up a meeting to talk about the offense and how they could fix it. And Mitch came with a thick binder of ideas, and Nagy never showed up. He straight up ghosted him.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the end of his final year, they let the offensive coordinator run the offense, and he was like, hey, Mitch, how can I help you? And they started doing everything that tailored to Mitch's strengths, and he looked like an actual quarterback the last 4 years of his career with the Bears, or the last 4 seasons. Jesus Christ, last 4 games. That's the word I'm looking for. The last 4 games of that year. So I agree. I think doing that to a quarterback is just awful. Now, moving on from the quarterback, I think we've pretty much covered the offense as a whole. Unless there's anything you guys want to say about the offensive line. I know you're not big fans of Jawan Taylor, and we've talked about Brandon Sheriff. I guess we can look at Cam Robinson and Ben Bartch here, because Bartch, I have no idea what he is or what he's capable of.
He is a very solid backup.
Okay.
I mean, he's been playing for Andrew Norwell because Andrew Norwell plays 7 or 8 games and gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Bartch was very solid in the 7 or 8 games he played at the end of the season, every season. I mean, to put him in the full-time role is a little worrisome for me, but I think he's earned the chance to do it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Cam Robinson, I personally am okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of fans that aren't happy with it. I think Cam Robinson showed enough to warrant a cheaper left tackle deal because it's not blowing the pockets off anybody.
Right.
I thought Cam Robinson looked really good last year.
Yeah, Cam Robinson's been fine.
I thought he looked really good, especially because how angry everyone was with him because he keeps just the franchise tag guy, and I would prefer an extension to the franchise tag because it's just so much money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's probably just because there's no guarantee other than Cam Robinson in free agency or the draft. We know we have kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but I would just prefer an actual extension or a contract or something.
Yeah. I'm glad Cam Robinson's a starter for you guys. His career was very sad to start with. He was so bad. He was so bad. And then he started with the Rams, if I'm not mistaken, and then went to the Jaguars, right? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, Cam Robinson was drafted, yeah.
Oh, okay. Who am I thinking of?
Started with the Rams and went to the Jaguars.
Was it
the Jaguars?
I can't think of anything. I know we've had quite a few go from the Jaguars to
the Rams.
Oh, no, there was somebody that was the other way around.
That's the retirement homes in L.A.
Yep.
Get rings.
Yeah, he was okay. Yeah, I definitely got it mixed up. But who was it? Greg Robinson. That's who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Greg Robinson. Yeah. Okay. No, I got them confused for a minute. I got Robinson. I see where I got mixed up. Yeah. No, Cam Robinson's solid. I like him. He's definitely one of the. I would say he's in the upper half of left tackles in the league.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah. I was going to say he's not a top 10, but he's not a bottom 20.
Right.
He's right there in the middle.
Yeah, he's definitely worth an extension. He's definitely worth an extension. He's a guy
and then I was going to say one more thing with him. Jacksonville is not known for keeping talent, and I think Cam Robinson giving him the 3-year deal was a very good start in that direction because you're not going to keep players here losing. Right. So you got to at least show them you want to give them some money.
Yeah. And I think Cam Robinson, I mean, he's not a guy you're looking to replace or anything, and that's kind of all you can ask for with the Jags right now. So,
he's just good enough for me to be okay with him.
Yeah.
That's the reason I was okay with missing an Evan Neal was because I was like, Cam Robinson isn't bad.
Yeah.
Javon Taylor being replaced Evan Neal is good, but also there's so many other things that we need that drafting on need and picking a right tackle would be odd.
Yeah. Taking a right tackle number 1 overall would have been goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're
100%.
If you're taking
a left-handed quarterback different, but we have a right-handed quarterback.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I think we should move on to the defense here. We've kind of talked about the defensive line a little bit with your edge rushers. But the interior of this defensive line, I think you made a sneaky, fantastic upgrade with Fatukasi, who is one of the best run-stuffing nose tackles in all of football. He's a guy that I'll admit I wasn't aware of until this offseason. I started doing my research team by team, and I started looking into Fatukasi because I was like, the Jags added so many players and none of them stand out. There's got to be somebody, right? And I would definitely say Fatukasi is that guy because he's just so good against the run. He's not great against the pass, but he is incredible against the run. And I think, honestly, if you've got him and then you've got Walker, who we've already said is great against the run, and Roy Robertson-Harris is okay against the run, I think you can have top 12, top 11 run defense in the league with these type of guys.
Yep. And you have to when you play Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I was very happy. I had to look him up as well because with the Jets, everybody always talks about Quinnen Williams on the Jets. Nobody talked about Fatukasi, so I had to look him up. But I'm very pleased with the pickup.
Yeah,
that's you're saying the run stopping ability. It's also the Olaquan was also
Olaquan
was a huge signing too. Yeah. I was we had a horrible run defense last year. Mm-hmm. The only reason we beat the Bills is because the Bills couldn't run the ball. If the Bills could hand the ball off, we would have lost by 30.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they went running back with James Cook. The Bills, I think.
Yeah, and
but also that game, the Bills had 2 offensive linemen that were hurt, so they were playing 2 backup linemen on that game.
Yeah, that was the perfect storm for the Jags to win that game.
If we didn't win another game that season, I'm glad we won the last game of the season against Colts.
Right,
because the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in 10 years.
It's an 8. It's an 8 season.
Yeah, it's 8. Yeah,
it's crazy.
And so. And one of the seasons, it counts as London. We're just going to count it, though, because it was a home game for us.
Right.
But it counts.
It worries me, though. Matt Ryan has never lost to the Jaguars. Now he's on the Colts.
I think the Colts are a sneaky contender right now. I'm really impressed with what they've put together.
I have them winning the division. 100%.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Titans are overblown as well. I don't think they got any better this offseason. I think they got worse.
They are one injury away from... Really, if Derrick Henry gets injured again, they are not going to do. I'm very pleased with Mike Vrabel as a coach, considering he lost his biggest offensive weapon, and they
lost 30 of their. They had 30 guys injured at once.
They got so lucky that Derrick Henry got injured right when Matt Stafford decided to be Matt Stafford from the Lions for a week and just throw picks.
Yeah,
and just throw who cares. hot passes across the moon, just launching it because their defense got like 2 touchdowns in that game.
Mm-hmm.
It was the easiest game of their lives.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford looked like horrible, and they're like, okay, free win.
Yeah.
Against the best team in the league, and then they're like, okay, now next week we don't have Derrick Henry. We're gonna play the Patriots. I think they lost. They just got really lucky with timing when Derrick Henry got injured.
Yeah, but I mean, my big thing with them is you take AJ Brown, who, arguably, I'm not going to say he's their best offensive weapon. I'm not going to be that low on Henry. He's their second best offensive weapon, and their only really passing weapon at all. And you trade him away, and you replace him with a guy that I'm not a huge fan of, with Treylon Burks. So it's tough for them, and people are still picking them to win the division and make a big playoff run. I don't see it. I don't see the hype at all.
Ryan Tannehill is the worst quarterback in our division, including Davis Mills.
Like, I wouldn't say that. I think he's better than Mills.
I'm like, ooh, I don't know, because I'm kind of higher on Ryan Tannehill than most people are.
I feel like I would be if I haven't seen him be horrible so often.
Yeah.
Like, he just does a lot of dumb things. He plays the exact same as Jimmy Garoppolo, where they'll look like they're making all the easy, like, smart decisions the entire game, and then they'll just throw it away for no reason. Like, why? Like the 49ers, the NFC Championship game, when Jimmy Garoppolo just threw the ball. And they were like, "Why would you do that? Why would you ever think about that was a good idea?"
Yeah.
Or in the Super Bowl, he did the same thing on 4th and 10. He just threw the ball because he gets scared. And Ryan Tannehill does that same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the worst part. That's the only thing you can't do as a quarterback. Is just be afraid and throw the ball.
Those guys are like high tier game managers, in my opinion, and I'm gonna put them above Davis Mills. I don't think Davis Mills is above them.
Davis Mills. I just thought
not yet.
I like the underdog story.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think, and this is one of my more controversial takes, but I will die on this hill. I think that group is kind of like Garoppolo, Tannehill, Cousins. Putting Kirk Cousins in there really pisses people off, but Kirk Cousins is not an impressive quarterback. And kind of Baker Mayfield. Like, Baker shows signs of being above that, but he's also Baker, so it's hard to judge.
Yeah. I think that Panthers-Browns game week 1 is going to be very exciting as I watch Jacoby Brissett play against the Panthers.
Listen, Baker Mayfield's about to go off for like 12 touchdowns and 600 yards.
Or 700 yards, 15 touchdowns. He's playing a franchise mode in Madden.
On Rookie Arcade.
4 verticals every single play in Rookie Arcade.
Chucking it up to DJ Moore, winning 50-50 balls. His X Factor's active the whole game.
PA shot X Factor activated. He got an alert on his phone that said your X Factor will stay activated all game.
Right. And he threw it back to Madden 21. He got that Most X Factor going, so it's just a guaranteed catch. Oh my lord.
Just has to be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, just every single play. But back to the Jaguars. Yeah, their defensive line I like. I think it's a solid defensive line. Roy Robertson Harris is someone that pisses me off that he's good, because he was nothing in Chicago. Like, he had a couple flashes here and there, but Jacksonville's really developed him into like a solid second defensive tackle. He's good. I like him.
Yeah. I agree, and I think our defensive line is going to be very good this year.
I think our defense
especially
is better.
Our entire defense as a whole is going to be way better, miles better. I'm not saying anywhere near 2017 defense, because that's historic.
Right, it's not going to be Saxonville again,
but it'll be up there. I mean, it'll be one of our better defensive units.
I agree.
I think it'll be the closest we've seen to the 2017 defense.
Since especially I was going to say, especially since 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, and I think
I was going to say, especially if Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, if Trayvon Walker pans out at all,
yeah,
our defense is going to be, I would say, top 10.
Yeah,
like I'm that confident in the things we've added that it could be definitely top 10 from bottom 3. I think we were 29th or 30th.
Yeah,
against the pass and like 31st against the run. So I think
last in takeaways.
Yeah, last in takeaways. But I have a lot of faith in our core. Also, who did we take the corner from?
Darius Williams
from the Rams. Yeah.
Leonard Williams.
Darius Williams. Yeah, he's a weird fit for your defense though. Because
he's one of them hometown stories though. He grew up in Jacksonville.
Interesting.
But I'm not mad with like signing players and then figuring out our defense after either. Because our defense is horrible. We can change that. That's something that doesn't need to be the same after their Urban Meyer tenure's up.
Right.
And also, I was going to say with him, I think he's going to be a corner 3.
Yeah.
Because Shaquille Griffin is obviously corner 1, but Tyson Campbell is corner 2, and I think he's going to take over corner 1 this year.
Really? Yeah. I think Shaq looked really good, especially against top receivers. When Shaq played against Stephon Diggs,
I agree.
He looked amazing.
Yeah.
Especially like his tackling ability behind the line, like on the short routes and just pass breakups, and that it just explicitly the Bills game he looked amazing in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that was the one game I was like, dang, like Shaq is a good corner. Like he does deserve the money we're giving him.
Yeah.
With that play.
My only issue with Darius Williams, and don't get me wrong, he's a hell of a ball player, super smart guy, really, really good in zone. He's not super athletic, but I mean, he knows what he's doing, right? If you have a smart corner, he's going to go far. But him being 5'9", he's not somebody that you're going to be able to rely on a lot in man coverage. And he's not athletic enough to be like a nickel guy. So it's not like you're going to be sticking him on slot receivers. He's going to be playing on boundary receivers or outside receivers. And if you're trying to play him press man, which is probably what this Jacksonville defense is going to be doing a good bit, given the other personnel they've brought together, and the defensive coordinator, whose name's escaping me right now, but we've talked about him, the linebacker coach from Tampa Bay, Caldwell.
Todd Bowles.
Caldwell.
Oh, Caldwell, yeah.
Is it
Todd
Mike
Bowles,
Caldwell?
Yeah, Mike Caldwell.
Yeah. His defense is very much like an attacking defense. Like you're getting to the quarterback at all costs. And when that's happening, you're going to be running a lot of man coverage. You need your guys to just stick to their man. Can't really afford to keep everybody out in zones and whatnot. And I'm just worried about Darius Williams' fit in that. But if they can figure it out, then that's a fantastic signing. But I think the big thing for them is we've talked about kind of, I don't want to say deep their defensive line and edge rushers are, but they have multiple guys that they can kind of play around with. And this type of defense is going to be one where you're going to be showing that you're sending just about 7 guys every single play. Now, you're not going to do it every play. Sometimes it's going to be a bluff. You're going to bring your linebackers back into coverage or whatever. But that kind of defense sets up guys to be free rushers so often. And that's going to pay huge dividends for this Jacksonville defense with these edge rushers. Because if you have Josh Allen or Trayvon Walker as a free rusher, especially Walker, since, like I've said, I don't trust his ability to create for himself. If he's a free rusher with that speed, he's going to be getting to the quarterback a lot.
Yeah,
and if it happens for
Josh, and wingspan,
right?
I mean, nobody's getting away from him.
Yeah.
You're at least disrupting the play, if not getting the whole sack.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of one thing I was overlooking earlier with Walker. He fits into this scheme very well, and he's going to benefit from it production-wise a lot if they can execute it the way it needs to be executed. But like I said, my biggest concern with that is probably Darius Williams and where he fits in, because he's not big enough to be an outside corner, but he's not quick enough to be an inside corner for this type of defense.
I was trying to remember. I think you were talking about earlier. You didn't know Brown or like Brown's thing, right? I remember after he was drafted, I went through all the players he drafted and was like watching other videos and like highlights and stuff and like geeking out because that's what you do,
right?
And I think Brown had like super good tape, I'm pretty sure, but he also didn't give up a touchdown at all through his college career.
Okay.
I was trying to remember. I just thought about that when we were talking about corners. I was like, I think Brown was another like Sauce Gardner, but way worse.
Yeah.
The Walmart version.
Like I said,
Walmart Sauce Gardner.
He was just
but he played in the SEC, so he played in the SEC.
Yeah.
Played for Arkansas. Didn't give up a touchdown. That's pretty good.
Yeah. He was just one of the guys I didn't get around to, so I'm not super familiar with his game or anything. But moving on, we've talked about the linebackers already. Foye is going to be a great run stuffer. Devin Lloyd, I've got my issues with him, but he's great in coverage. Chad Muma's good. We kind of looked over K'Lavon Chase on, but there's not really much to say there.
Yeah,
he is what he is.
He'll be depth. He's depth now. I think he's in when someone's hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he literally has nothing going for him. He's thin. He has no power. He has no moves. He's bad against the run. Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's got the build of a weak side linebacker, but can't play coverage. Like, he's a useless football player. As sad as that is to say, he kind of is.
Yeah. Yep.
Because he was a gadget player. He was a kind of a gadget player.
He's
like a defensive gadget player. They're trying to make Micah Parsons before Micah Parsons, but was shorter and slower and smaller.
Shorter, slower, smaller, less powerful, less technical, less refined. So he's Micah Parsons, but nothing like Micah Parsons at all.
he's like Micah Parsons if Micah Parsons didn't play football.
He's like Micah Parsons if you throw him in Madden and dropped all of his stats to 0.
Yeah.
25 overall.
Right.
Micah Parsons.
Now your safeties, I think it's an interesting group because these guys pretty much feel like the same level. I don't think anyone necessarily stands out. I like Cisco. I think he probably has the highest upside out of the group.
I like him a lot.
Yeah. But like overall, Jenkins, Wingard, Thomas, Cisco even, they're kind of all like bunched together in the same talent level, which can be a good and bad thing because none of them jump off the page. But I guess like if one goes down, it's not like you're taking a huge hit or something like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do like Cisco's upside. I think Cisco, if he can work on his coverage a little bit, which a lot of that is up here, he just needs to, I don't know why I hit my headphones, up here, he just needs to learn it a little bit. But he's got the playmaking ability. He's great against the run. He's really, really rangy. We saw a lot of that in college where he would be like the lone safety back there, just kind of running around doing his thing. He's a really hard hitter too. You love to see that. So if they can develop him a little bit better, I think he can be a stud at safety. But other than that, they're all pretty average.
I really like Cisco a lot.
Yeah.
The thing with Cisco is we talk about Trevor Lawrence's development a lot and how Urban Meyer failed Trevor. We failed Andre Cisco last year by not giving him opportunity to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And granted, I don't know what the practices look like, but I know from what I've seen from the little bit he played on the field on special teams and the few plays he got to play, and once Urban Meyer was fired, Cisco was very good on the field. And the fact that you have Andrew Wingard starting over Andre Cisco, granted they do play different safety positions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
But it doesn't matter. Get Andrew Wingard off the field. Why are you offering him $2 million to play for us this year? It doesn't make sense. We tendered him. Why?
Hey, I don't know.
We're not Wingard fans?
I hate Wingard.
I'm not a Wingard fan. However, I do stick up for him a little bit because I think he plays with a lot of heart. But heart doesn't cut it.
Grit.
He's got that grit. He's got that high motor. He's a coach's dream. He's the type of guy you want to date your daughter.
Sneaky athlete.
Yeah.
He's a sneaky athlete.
Yeah. He did have one of our only takeaways last year.
Yeah, I will give him credit. Like, jokes aside, he has good ball skills. I'm impressed with his ball skills.
Yeah.
But you can't.
But like I said,
it's not good.
You have Andre Cisco, who you need to be giving playing time to, or Wingard shouldn't be on the field. And at the very least, he should be a backup. Because I don't hate him on the roster. I hate him starting.
Yeah. I think it's Wingard, right? Because I've heard some people call him Wingward, and I don't know where that came from because there's only one W. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure I was right. I'm not super impressed by him either. He shouldn't be getting snaps over Cisco. He shouldn't be like a primary guy. But if he's going to be out there for a couple snaps here and there, maybe he's like a spark plug, so to speak.
Yeah,
because
or
like I said,
or whatever.
Right,
you know?
Right. Because like I said, he has good ball skills. He can read the quarterback very well. It's just he's not a good tackler. He's not great against the run. He's not uber athletic.
If you look at the top 100 plays of the NFL or whatever, and the top 10 Jets plays where Zach Wilson did that 50-yard run against us, Andrew Wingard completely missed him on the tackle. Zach Wilson didn't move. He just kept running straight, and Wingard just completely missed the tackle.
He whiffed on the MILF Hunter.
And he's got that dog.
He does. That's what it was. I think Wingard. Jesus Christ! Now I'm sounding like an idiot.
Wingard.
Yeah. I think he just was like, you know what, game recognized game, and just kind of let him take it.
Go ahead, man. We're trying to secure the number one pick here. Get on.
Right.
Keep on keeping on, Zach.
It's like when it was the Jets last year that ran cover 0 on a Hail Mary, right? I think it was the Jets.
Was it last year or was it the year before?
Either way, within the last couple of years.
Yeah,
every Jets season feels the exact same. Okay.
It's always the most random, not random, but like the highlight plays that like stick out for a team usually happen against the Jaguars. Every time, like I think of Derrick Henry, like just get Miles Jack by the face mask and running on the sideline. Like that's all I can think of.
Or Derrick Henry breaking off for like 98-yard touchdowns against you guys.
Yep.
So that's why I always argue that Derrick Henry is still the best running back in the league, is because I watched him score 3 touchdowns in 17 seconds. It's like, okay, valid, understandable.
Yeah. All right, now that we've kind of ran through the roster, something I kind of skipped over were the guys that you lost, and we kind of touched on Norwell. He's just kind of beat up. He's not on the field a whole lot. You can live without him.
Good when he's on the field.
Yeah, but he's not on the field enough to really make a difference. And then you've got 2 other linemen with Brandon Linder and AJ Cann. Do you guys consider either of them major losses?
Brandon Linder, huge.
Okay.
If he would have played 3 or 4 more seasons, he would have been the best offensive lineman in Jaguars history, and that's over Tony Baselli.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
He was very good. Like very good. He's a center, so like it's not the most visibly like seen like in game. I mean, when you watch tape, you can see it, but like during a game, you won't see the center making the big crucial blocks. They're not the main guy that you can see, but he is insane.
Yeah.
He was so good.
Yeah. He was a very good leader. He's like the only, you know how the captain patch, you get a gold after 5 times of being it. He was the only Jaguar that's had that, and like since the franchise opened up.
Damn.
Yeah. He was like the heart of that the offensive line for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
He will be missed.
Yeah. I was gonna say I kind of worded that question wrong. I should have said
don't care.
Right.
Yeah, I don't care about it.
Yeah.
He's on the Texans. We'll get to get sacks on the Texans now.
What I meant to kind of ask was, do you feel like it was necessary to move on from them? Like, do you think it was Linder's time to go, or are you?
Well, Linder retired.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? You're right. You're right. My apologies.
I wish he didn't retire.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Him for retiring. Keep your body good, man.
The only thing I'm okay with in that regard is now I can't even remember. Luke Fortner will hopefully be the center that Trevor only plays with the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Because that's a big connection when you have the two.
Yeah, if he can get his Just Saturday, that would be. Yep.
Yeah. That's what just to the Broncos for a day. So he can snap it to Peyton. It's real.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence and Luke Fortner. Fuck, Fortner. I unironically do that sometimes. I fuck it up because I was watching the draft with one of my buddies, and he said that as soon as the guy was picked, and I'm like, well, fuck, now that's his name in my head now. And then the other 2.
I personally wanted the Linderbaum though in the draft.
Oh my god, really Linderbaum's going to be a perennial All-Pro. He's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Actually, I was really hoping we get Cole Strange in the.
And the Patriots were like, "Hey, listen, this guy's a 3rd-round talent. Let me take him at 24 or whatever they took him at." Those Belichick pick of all time.
5th-round talent.
Yeah.
Sean McVay laughing.
Yeah.
That was horrid.
I actually recorded with Patriots fans last night, and the one guy I was talking to was like, "Listen, it's just the most Belichick pick I can imagine."
The only thing else is if there was like a 5'8" white wide receiver from Middle Tennessee State that played quarterback all 4 years.
Yeah,
he played free safety all 4 years. And he's moving receiver to the NFL. Give it a go.
Do you guys remember 2 years ago when Belichick went to some D3 school in the pouring rain to watch a long snapper?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. It was some. I think it was a long snapper. It was someone of that caliber. It was like a random position that you're not scouting. But there's a picture of him on some janky practice field with his hood up, pouring down rain, watching maybe it was a center. It might have been a center. But it was some random D3 prospect.
Strange plot twist.
Maybe
comes full circle. It was Cole Strange all along.
I mean, yeah, where did Cole Strange go? Like the University of Chattanooga, right?
He came in. He just opened the portal and walked out.
I mean,
that's why he has really good hands.
I got to go back and look at it because if it turns out that kid's name was Cole Strange, I'm going to lose my mind. Belichick's a fucking enigma, dude. Nothing he does makes sense anymore, but it works.
Yeah.
Like that was the takeaway last night. We were talking about the Patriots. It was just every 5 minutes I was like, I can't see the vision personally, but it's Belichick, so I'm going to look like an idiot here in a year.
Yeah, it has to work out.
Yeah.
Like Mac Jones over Justin Fields was like...
Yeah, he's going to make the Pro Bowl in his rookie year as a right guard.
Cole Strange is going to be a first-year All-Pro, win Rookie of the Year, go down as a first ballot
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, even after Creed Humphrey had like one of the best seasons any lineman's ever had.
And
it'll go
Tristan
to Cole Strange.
The year before.
Yep. It'll go to Cole Strange.
It's Cole Strange. It's always been Cole Strange. And the meme, the picture is going to come back of the long snapper, and it's just gonna, like on the back of the helmet, it'll just like slowly come in and say Strange.
Oh
it's
my
like the
Lord.
end of The Shining when Jack Nicholson's in the painting.
Oh my God. Fucking Cole Strange. All right. Anyways, the other two players that you guys lost that were kind of big deals were DJ Chark and Miles Jack. And from what I can tell, AJ, you're not a big Miles Jack fan.
No, I'm not. I liked him when he played, but he wasn't doing it. You know,
it was time to move on.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's that great either. Right.
And also, this was like again, like this draft, especially for linebackers, was huge. I honestly, every position outside of quarterback, this draft was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone's going to say this is a bad draft class because there was no good quarterbacks in it. Mm-hmm. But it was a really good draft class.
Yeah.
With just
for most of your positions, it was very good.
I agree.
Nakobe Dean fell, but like Nakobe Dean, Lloyd,
George Pickens fell.
Yeah, Pickens fell. Well, Pickens fell because of character issues. I think, right?
But the Steelers are like, give me him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I joke all the time that George Pickens had more red flags than a theme park. Like he's got problems. I like he might be Antonio Brown again. Both in town.
Antonio Brown's first 6 years,
right? And I mean, Pickens has the talent too. Like, legitimately speaking, he might be Antonio Brown again, where he gives you great production and then just snaps randomly.
Because, like, okay, I think the what was it? The college football championship game. He had that catch where he caught it falling forward from McPherson, like with his fingertips, and then did a flip. And I was like, that's a catch that gets you drafted in the first round. Like, that's first round talent. That's a catch.
Yeah,
it's like Terry McLaurin catching a pass like this. Like, you have to get this guy. And then he just wasn't drafted. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, I don't care about red flags. Get the guy. He can play.
Right. Yeah, I had to talk myself out of George Pickens once Chicago passed on because I was going to be like, fuck, this is the narrative. Chicago didn't take Pickens. Now Fields doesn't have any help. So it's like, well, he's got character concerns and you don't want that. And now three Chicago... Yeah, since then, 3 Chicago Bears have been arrested. So clearly it doesn't fucking matter. Granted, it's been for goofy little crimes. Nobody's done anything crazy. Like, the craziest thing that happened was one of our linebackers tried to take a handgun across state lines or something and didn't have a license for it. But, like, it could be a lot worse. It's not like they're out there Deshaun Watson or Ray Rice or Ray Lewis or anything like that.
Alvin Kamara.
Right. It's not that. Like, one guy got arrested for that. One guy was doing donuts in a Hellcat without a license. That was Byron Pringle. And then...
That was Pringle?
Yeah, Byron Pringle. But his was a big deal because his son was in the backseat and he's like 4.
He's probably the world's coolest dad, though.
Right. It was him.
Hellcat.
Yeah, he got pulled over. It was him, another male who was either his cousin or his friend, and then his 4-year-old son in the booster seat in the back seat. And he was doing donuts in the parking lot in his Hellcat. And he got arrested for reckless driving or something. Yeah.
Good.
And then, oh my God, who was the other one? One of our receivers, David Moore. His story was even better.
Oh, yeah.
So he got arrested. He took a bunch of edibles the day before New Year's and went to Taco Bell and passed out in the drive-thru. And they pulled him over and looked at his car, and he had edibles and firearms in the car.
Damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, granted, it could be a lot worse, but like...
I do remember most of the news because everybody was saying how Chicago wide receiver core is not good, and then 3 of them got arrested afterwards.
2 of them, only 2 of them, thankfully. And one of them I wasn't even sure was going to make the team, and the other one got arrested for being a cool dad. So I'm not too worried about it.
He gets a pass.
Yeah,
he gets a pass.
Sorry, officer. I'm cool as shit. I'm just
You're right.
Cool as dad.
You're right. My apologies in the cop box.
You're set. You can go home. Thank you, officer.
You have a good day, Byron. Yeah.
Officer, this goes 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds.
So with Miles Jack, I just want to point out, you guys said you're not too high on him. I don't know how familiar you are with like the majority of Steelers fans and how delusional and insufferable they are, but I've been told basically that Miles Jack is going to take their defense from like 23rd, I think, last year to a lock for top 3. And I think it's the most delusional shit I've ever heard.
Miles Jack is going to be a lot better on Pittsburgh because he will not have to be he's going to, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not going to be the focal point of the defense. He's going to be able to just do his job.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't do good here because he's going to be very good as a role player, but he wasn't good as a leader.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like their 2017 defense, like when he was like that's I don't think that's his best year, like statistically, but that's the best he's played. Is that like first couple seasons?
And then he was
Telvin
stacked.
Smith.
Telvin Smith exactly.
was also playing out of his mind right next to him. Like Telvin Smith was a legitimate top 5 linebacker when Miles Jack was at his best.
What was it Telvin Smith got in trouble for? He did some really fucked up shit, right?
A lot of things. When he retired.
Yeah, he retired for like mental reasons or whatever, or like.
But didn't he get arrested afterwards?
Mental, but yes, like something to do with a kid, but I don't know what the.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
He also got in trouble because like his dogs were like just.
Yeah, he's gotten in a lot of trouble.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But nothing when he was on the team.
Right.
Nothing when he was on the team.
Yeah, I do.
Also, Paul Posluszny was having a good season that year too.
Yeah, I like Paul Posluszny. He was one of my favorite linebackers growing up. He was a stud.
And when he was on the team, Miles Jack didn't have to do the leader role.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Miles Jack doesn't.
Miles Jack was outside.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
He doesn't necessarily have to do that with Pittsburgh in terms of being a leader, but he's still like going to be their most their best linebacker. So I do still have some concerns with him. And I don't think he's great. Like, I'm not saying he's a terrible linebacker or anything, but I don't think he's great either. And to say him alone is going to jump your defense like that, I think is just asinine.
No, I would argue that they just picked up a D lineman.
Yeah. Shit, he was supposed to sign with the Bears too. Why am I Ogunjobi? Larry Ogunjobi.
I would argue that he would make them go from a 12 to a 1 over Miles Jack just because of how good he is stopping the run.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then the other big name you guys let go, which I understand why, was DJ Chark, but he only played like 4 games last year, right?
Yeah, he's been in and out. He's been hurt a lot. And I think it was good for him to go to a new team, and it was good for us to move on from him.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for the Lions too. So
I hope he does well. I have no problems with him as a person or a player.
He was good, and like again, he just got injured. Yeah. Also, Urban Meyer said he wasn't tough enough. Said you're not strong enough, and then he made him add 20 pounds, and he like tore his ACL.
Right.
Okay, that's
on a blocking play.
Yeah, it's like.
Really?
He wasn't even running right. He was blocking.
I didn't know that.
He was like near the line, and a lineman or a tight end backed up and stepped on the back of his leg.
Oof! Yikes! It's unfortunate. And then
he was very good that one year.
Yeah, and that brings me to kind of my last thing I wanted to talk about, because we went through the team, and it's kind of fits in with a departure. How do you guys feel about the kicker situation now that Urban Meyer kind of fucked it?
That was the greatest player in Jags history. He kicked off the team.
Yep. Josh Lambo was... You could debate Josh Scobie in the earlier days, but Josh Lambo was the most accurate kicker we've ever had. And not only that, I just don't understand. Josh Lambo's now suing the team. You know he's never coming back.
As he should, honestly. They treated him terribly.
Like he was second team All-Pro behind Justin Tucker, and it's only because he got one kicker. If he didn't, he missed the Pro Bowl because Justin Tucker was the only kicker in the Pro Bowl, but he was second team All-Pro.
Right.
It's like he was very much the second best kicker in the league. And
my thing with him though, he went to the Steelers and couldn't get a job either. So I'm a little. I don't know what the issue was. Maybe his confidence.
I was going to say, because when you get I mean, for lack of better words, when you get fucked over like that, I mean, that's going to really mess up your psyche, especially as a kicker when everything kind of comes down to what's going on up here. Like a kicker, other positions you can kind of make up for it with athleticism and stuff. A kicker, you can't. If you're not set up here, you're going to miss everything. So if you're going through that situation where you were assaulted by a coach, you get to call the coach out on it, and then you get cut from a team that, like you said, he's been arguably the best kicker they've ever had, has been an all-pro coming off, one of the years where he was arguably the second best kicker in football. That's really going to fuck up your mental. And it's unfortunate that it had to go down like that.
It's just like, and the reason it's so upsetting is because, like, again, I Jags fan loved Josh Lambo.
Yeah, the community and everything.
Like across, it was like he was one of our players. Like there's players, like every team has like a player that they love. Like Josh Lambo was that player for us. Like that was our guy. Mostly because we don't really have a guy that stayed long enough for that. Right. But like Josh Lambo he came in, his first kick I think he had for us was against the Chargers, his old team, to win a game. So it's like, he was perfect. He fell in like, just like dropped it at thin air and it was like, here's our guy. This is our prophet of kicking.
Right.
And then he just did a bunch of dumb stuff to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just an unfortunate situation. I feel really bad for him, especially because he got kicked off the team for standing up for himself. Like, that's the worst part too. It wasn't just like, if he would have been calling out Urban for nothing, just like being like, "Hey, coach, get your shit together," and they would have cut him. Like, that's one thing, I guess, because you're just being a dick to the coach. I guess you could, twist it as. Yeah. But I mean, Urban came up, kicked him, said, "Make your fucking kicks," and then tried to walk away from him. Like, what are you supposed to do? Just be like, "Yes, sir." And then just keep going, like,
he's the head ball coach.
Right.
I'm the head ball coach.
Right.
Ball coach.
Oh my god, the amount of rage I have in my body still for Urban Meyer, it's gonna stay there until I die. It's like a pit.
Yeah.
I also hate Ohio, so like I was kind of cringing when he came here. I was like, okay, well, this is something, I guess. And then he just made it worse.
Yeah.
Just made it worse.
The only thing
Everything I thought was gonna happen happened, and then some.
I mean, Urban's been everything that you could possibly be wrong so far. Like, he's a misogynist. He's treating women poorly in public, like that picture video, whatever it was that came out. He's an adulterer. Assaults his players. He's an abusive leader. The only thing I'm waiting for, and I hate to say it, but like, how long do you think it is until we find out Urban's like also extremely racist? And
he hired a racist person.
Yeah, he hired a racist coach.
Did he really?
Yeah, he hired the Iowa coach.
Yeah, the Iowa strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
Oh,
he hired that to his staff, and then they were like, "This guy's really racist, Urban." And he's like, "I hired him. What are you gonna do about it?" And then he had to, like, he was forced to resign. Yeah, Urban didn't fire him. He resigned.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
I was gonna say, if you go on YouTube and just type the timeline of Urban Meyer, the amount of stuff that just happened.
The only reason he had a job until week 13 is because John Gruden's emails got leaked and there was bigger news.
Right.
And I was so mad because it was Urban Meyer stays in Cincinnati and doesn't come home because he's at his bar touching college girls. And then the next day was John Gruden's emails, and I went, well, Urban's still our coach.
Yeah.
So there it is.
And
that should have been the end of it.
Yeah, and I know Urban wasn't an NFL coach or anything, but I'm really shocked he didn't come up in those emails. Like, just given that it was just the worst of the worst talking to each other. Like, like John Gruden, some of the shit he was saying, it wouldn't have surprised me if he was reaching out to everybody talking about it,
Yeah.
Like, it's...
I don't know. Yeah. You know what's kind of crazy, though? I just got done watching a 2017 game where Urban Meyer was the coach of Ohio State, and they played Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield ended up winning the game, but watching Urban Meyer on the sideline, he looked like a legit head coach. Like, he was up and down the sideline, coaching. And then in the NFL, he didn't, like, it was so weird. He was literally there with his hands on his knees, like, just like looking hunched over the entire time. And it's just crazy. Like, I wonder.
Cam Newton.
Yeah, I wonder if he just thought he was so good that he didn't have to coach, or I don't know what the deal was.
Look at his resume.
Well,
look at his coaching resume.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was a fantastic college coach, and that's not always going to translate to the NFL. And I think Urban realized pretty quickly that was the case, and he realized he had too much on his plate, especially, and I mean no offense by this, but going to a team like the Jaguars, going from Ohio State to the Jaguars, that's a big fucking jump. You're going to a different league, your talent is dropping severely, the pedigree has dropped severely. I think that was probably part of it where Urban was just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm here, I'll collect my paycheck, but I don't give a shit. And then I think him going to that club with the college girls, that probably adds to it or probably proves it. So I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, Urban made a comment that said every week is like playing Alabama in the NFL. And you got to think, in college, you get 4 or 5 games a year in college where you play Alabama State or community college.
Right.
Or Wichita State. You get those easy games.
Right.
A few times a year too, where you get to relax. But there's not that. And I think also he wanted to prove he could win with the roster we had.
Mm-hmm.
That was his big thing when in his introductory press conference, he said, this roster can win. And he basically blamed it on Doug Marrone, the previous head coach, on why they sucked. And he came in, he made a couple adjustments where he signed Marvin Jones, Shaquille Griffin. Smoot, I think, was one of the additions last year.
Oh, Smoot was drafted to us.
Then not DeJuan Smoot. Then it was another defensive tackle.
Yeah, it was Robertson Harris.
Yeah,
Harris. Okay, because Joe Cullen wanted a guy. The defensive coordinator wanted a guy, and I think that was him. Mm-hmm. And he just kept saying, "I can win with this team." And then I think training camp came, and he was like, "Oh dang, I don't think I need to get Tim Tebow."
right. That was his
scrimmage game before. I think the scrimmage at the Falcons. He's like, "This is a team."
Yeah, I really think it was
Jesus Christ.
How was he allowed to play?
I know. I think it really. He looked at the roster, thought he could win with it, and then when it didn't happen, he was like, "Oh well, whatever."
Yeah, he was
I think. Sorry, continue.
I was just gonna say he was like, "Fuck it, I'll take my paycheck." But
yeah,
that's exactly what it was.
It's my first year. I can it's a cop-out year.
He's like, I'm gonna coast. Right. I can stay in a bar in Ohio and miss Monday meetings.
Yeah, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I'm the head ball coach.
That was a fireable offense. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Shad Khan lost all my respect because he didn't fire Urban Meyer when he didn't come back. That right there is enough to get fired with anybody else.
The problem was Urban Meyer was Shad Khan's guy. He's wanted Urban Meyer for years. He's wanted him to come from college. Urban Meyer has always been a rumored head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then finally he got his guy, and then he was like, oh, he's going to win multiple championships. He did it in Florida. He did it at Ohio State. He's going to win all these championships. And then it was. But like I said earlier, Urban Meyer was not the same coach he was when he played at the college level.
No,
I don't know what happened. I don't know what his mentality changed, but he was completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The Urban Meyer situation was just, for lack of better words, a load of horse shit. I'm very sorry you guys had to deal with it, but, I got faith in Doug Peterson. At the very least, he's mature. You're not going to see Doug Peterson going out and doing goofy shit like that. So,
he'll change the culture, which is what we need most.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people overlook when it comes to hiring these older coaches, is how much they can change a culture for a team. Like Chicago, I know I keep going back to Chicago, but that's
your team.
They hired Matt Eberflus, and everyone's like, well, you hired a defensive head coach, you got a rookie quarterback, you're fucked, right? But in reality, Matt Eberflus is ironically the exact opposite of Matt Nagy. Even though everyone jokes Chicago went from Matt to Matt, Eberflus is the complete opposite. No nonsense, high discipline, high effort, very much into developing young guys. Matt Nagy refused to play young players. Eberflus will start them day one if he has any faith in them or thinks they're any good whatsoever. So the culture is about to shift in Chicago for sure, even though I'm talking about discipline and we got 3 guys that just got arrested. But once the season starts, once everybody gets under control, They'll get it figured out. And I think Peterson's going to be a lot of the same thing for Jacksonville. Even if he isn't the long-term answer at head coach, he's going to flip that team around. They're going to be a more mature ball team. He's going to do well with Trevor Lawrence. I think he was a great coach for Trevor Lawrence. Like I said, him playing in the same offense that he played in college is huge. I think it was a great signing.
Yeah, and also he hired a bunch of former quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many former quarterbacks in the coaching room right now.
And thank God none of them were Tebow.
Tebow Tuesdays. That's also the rumor. The Tebow Tuesdays. Everyone can come meet Tebow. Did you guys hear about that?
No. What?
Mm-mm.
It was like this. I think it was like this fake news thing that was sent around like Jaguars stuff. But it was like Urban Meyer allegedly has Tebow Tuesdays, where
Tim Tebow comes over for dinner or something.
The Tebow gets to come to the practice facility and do whatever he wants, and all the players get a chance to meet him.
Do whatever he wants. Tebow's lining up at quarterback. Trevor, sit the fuck down. This is Tebow Tuesday.
I bet when Tebow was like on the roster, I bet he had snaps at QB.
Oh, had to have.
I would guarantee you in practice
You know, when Urban's like, "Hey, Trevor, I'm gonna need you to do this." Tim Tebow, come show him what I'm talking about. Come here.
Hey, Tim, come here for a minute.
Hey, we're gonna run the spread. Tim, come here.
Show him how it's done.
Yeah, go lefty QB. Go throw this pass real quick, just to show this righty QB what he's doing.
Just to show him what a real man throws a ball like.
Yeah, you know what, Trevor? Go give me a Gatorade.
Tim,
Trevor, this player gonna line up a tight end. We're just gonna line up. Tim, come in here.
Yeah.
All right, Trevor. What you're gonna do is you're gonna run Tim's route for him. He's gonna throw the ball to you. Okay. We're just gonna test it out.
You know they drafted Travis Etienne and then they lined up about wide receiver.
Yeah, they're trying him out.
That was my first red flag of the entire year was. When asked why you drafted another running back after you got a running back that just ran for 1,000 yards in the first round, he said, "Third down running back."
In the first round. You already know at practice, he was like, "Hey, Travis, you're going to play wide receiver. Tim, come show him how to run a route. Tim, come show him what he's doing." Like,
hey, Tim, hey, here's how to take your hand off. Hey, Tim, come here.
That's why we had wide receivers running into each other all year.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Lavisca, you know how to run a route? Tim, come here. See, this is what you do. And then when they ran into each other, Urban's on the sideline. Tim wouldn't have done that. Tim wouldn't have ran into a receiver.
The block that's like famous that Tim Tebow had in the preseason.
Oh yeah, where he then completely lays out.
Urban's on the sideline. Way to fucking go, Tim. Way to get in there and do it.
You know what? That's a sneaky athletic play. Yep. A lot of grit and hard work in that play.
Yeah. As soon as they cut Josh Lambo, he's thinking in the back of his head, Tim's kicking.
Yeah. Hey, come kick Josh for me.
Hey, Tim, come tell him who the head ball coach is.
Yeah.
1 second. Hey, Tim, come here. Who is the head ball coach, Tim? Who is it? It's a weird power dynamic where he's in love with them, but also terrified of them.
Mm-hmm. Tim calls him daddy.
Yeah.
I want to write. I'm going to start a long fan fiction about Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow's relationship. It'll be turned into a script for Twilight, just like Harry Potter was.
No, it's gonna be oh my god, what was that movie that just came out? The Underdog Story, the Kurt Warner movie.
Oh yeah.
That'll be the Tim Tebow movie where the secret plot line that only a few of us pick up on is the fact that he's in love with Urban Meyer the whole time. It's a couple subtle looks here and there, and it's just
mutual.
Yeah, and there's
it's an unspoken thing like Jim and Pam for the first season.
Yeah, and you've got the little bit of forbiddenness because Tebow's the goody two shoes Christian boy, but he's in love with another man. They throw in an altar boy joke Urban, if you were a pastor, I would love to be your altar boy. Oh my god!
You're the third man I love behind my dad and Jesus.
And then he takes it back. I take it back. You're above my dad.
You're above Jesus.
Urban, the way I see it, you're the son of God, and I love you.
Yeah.
Dear God.
Praise him.
Praise Urban.
Every time Tebow's knee celebration, he was actually thinking about Urban Meyer.
He was
practicing his proposal.
Oh, okay. You went a way cleaner route than I was going to go, but we'll go with it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Practicing for after the game. Oh my God! First of all, what the fuck just happened? We were talking about the Jaguars, and we're talking about Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow being gay lovers.
I think that's a Jaguar summed up. I think that pretty much sums up our season.
Yeah, that would be the highlight.
The highlight.
We need to sign a tight end, and we really desperately need a free agent tight end, and Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry sitting there for like Tim Tebow.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Tim Tebow.
Urban Meyer's like, oh my God, the prettiest girl just walked in.
When I first seen Tim Tebow, the announcement of him joining the team, I really thought it was just to sell jerseys.
I mean, it probably
because he quickly shot up to number one selling.
I'm sure that's probably why they were okay with doing it. Like, obviously, Urban wanted him to actually play him, but I'm sure the guys up top are like, yeah, we'll sell some jerseys with it as long as he doesn't make the final team.
Yeah.
You know? Also, with
Urban really wanted him on that final team.
Yeah.
Him getting a snap in the preseason was ridiculous.
Yeah. But I can see Urban looking at Trevor, and he's got the long hair like the prettiest girl in school, and then Tebow walks in, like you said, and you hear, like, really just try. What's the song called that they play? Dreamweaver, I think, is the name of the song. I don't know. That might be a really obscure reference. Yeah. That starts playing, and it cuts to Tebow, and he's like, "Hey, coach." Flicks his non-existent hair. I'm ready to play tight end, sir. And then Urban's just like drilling at the mouth.
I'll show you a tight end. I'm sorry. Tim, come here.
All right, that's it. We're done. That's the end. We can't keep going. Oh, God. Why did it take us that long to make that joke? It was sitting there right in front of us. It's way too long to
might have been a gay lover this entire time, and we finally got to the tight end joke.
And that's why he had him playing tight end. That's exactly why. It was supposed to. It was laid out right there in front of us, and we just didn't pick up on it.
I think putting him at wide receiver would be way too on the nose.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm proud of that joke. I'm gonna.
You should be.
When I die, that's going on my tombstone.
Oh my Lord! All right, well, unless you guys have anything else you want to bring up or talk about,
I think we got everything.
We got everything, literally everything. Thank you guys so much for coming on once again.
Of course.
Ian, if you want to plug your podcast again, and I'll make sure I'll put a link to it in the description.
Yeah, it's just the PI podcast. We go live Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, and then we do daily uploads 4 p.m. Eastern every single day.
Awesome. And AJ, if there's anything you want to plug, maybe you want to plug that fan fiction you're starting right now.
Yeah, you can follow my journey of my fanfic on my TikTok, ApricotTM. I talk about sports and rap music. That's about it.
Valid. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know why you wouldn't enjoy after the rant that we just went on for the last 10 minutes.
I know.
That's probably the most entertaining 10-minute stretch of this entire podcast. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let us know if you think Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow were secretly gay lovers, or whether you think the Jaguars are... Oh, that's one more thing, actually. How do we think the Jaguars are going to do this year? What's our prediction for them?
I'm going 8-9, 7-10 area.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at. Because I looked at their schedule. It's very tough because we play the AFC West, but we also have games like the Lions, play the Texans twice, the Jets. We're built to stop the run, so I'm hoping we can beat the Titans. We've been pretty good against the Colts at home, so I mean, I could see us winning anywhere between 7 and 9 games.
Yeah. I think your window's a little bit bigger than that. I think you could win anywhere from like 4 to 9. Like, I think there's a chance that this team could be really bad.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's fair.
It's a hopeful 7 to 9.
Right.
The realistic is probably around 5.
Yeah, I think 5 is probably my sweet spot.
Hopefully 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Between 7 and 9 is the hopeful area, but 4 wins is definitely a realistic number. I think any less than that is not realistic.
Yeah, I don't think
just because I think Doug Peterson alone wins us more games than Urban Meyer won the 3. You know,
right.
If we could win 3 games with Urban Meyer and one of those being the Bills and losing to the Bengals by 3. in the final seconds last year, I think we could easily win 4 games.
Right. All right. Well,
and maybe second place if the Titans suck this year, which is what we're hoping for.
Perhaps.
Oh, yeah, the Titans are going to be bad.
Yep.
Worse everywhere. So,
well, like I was saying before, I completely forgot we had to do a record prediction. That'll do it for this episode. Make sure you guys let us know down in the comments below. Like I said, if you think Tebow and Urban Meyer were secretly gay lovers, how you think the Jaguars are going to do this season. Maybe there was a player we talked about, you didn't agree with our take on them, or we just didn't talk about them in general. Let us know down in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe. We're pushing for 250 subscribers by the start of the NFL season, and we're at like 187 right now, so we're getting close. We're getting there. But anyways, once again, thank you guys for coming on, and to everyone out there watching, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, afternoon, evening, whatever